If a man wishes to rise above frustration, he must first understand its cause, desire for outcomes outside his control. The fruit ripens in its own time. The storm passes on no man's command. So why lash out at the sky? Do you struggle with impatience, that gnawing fire inside when life delays its promises? Then reflect on this. Even the Emperor of Rome waited on senators, waited on campaigns, waited on the gods. Yet in all, he sought not to command time, but to master himself, practice patience like a soldier drills with his blade. It is not passive. It is power under discipline. You do not ignore the irritation, you transform it. Turn delay into reflection. Turn frustration into training. You will suffer less from what happens and more from how you meet it. So if you feel your patience fraying, ask yourself, what virtue have I been given this moment to grow? And remember, my friend, though I speak from ancient pages, wisdom lives on when shared. Subscribe to our channel and continue this journey toward strength of mind, clarity of purpose, and resilience that even emperors would envy. You see me now through the mists of time, Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome. But do not be deceived by the golden laurels or the weight of empire. I was a man who waited, just as you wait now. Picture the greatest throne room in all of Rome, marble. Columns reaching toward heaven, golden eagles perched on standards, and there, upon the seat of ultimate power, sat an emperor, learning patience. Every morning, as the sun crept over the 7 hills, I faced what you face, the crushing weight of expectations, the burning desire for immediate results, the temptation to command time itself to bend to my will. Let me tell you of the day I truly understood patience. A messenger arrived bearing news of rebellion in the eastern provinces. My generals urged immediate action. The Senate demanded swift retribution. The people whispered of weakness if I did not strike at once. And there I sat, feeling the fire of urgency in my blood, the same fire you feel when life refuses to move at your chosen pace. But wisdom, my friend, comes at its own hour. Like a sculptor who cannot force the marble to yield before its time, I learned that even an emperor cannot command the ripening of events. I had legions at my command, yet I could not hasten the changing of seasons or the maturing of strategies. I could only master myself. Think of your own life now, the promotion that eludes you, the relationship that needs time to heal, the skills that refuse to be mastered in a day. You rage against these delays as I once raged against the slow turning of empire's wheels. But let me share with you what the years have taught me. Patience is not weakness. It is power under perfect control. In those hours of waiting, I wrote in my journals what I now share with you. Each delay was not an obstacle to my path. It was my path. Every moment spent in seeming idleness was actually a moment spent forging the iron of my resolve. When others rushed to failure, I learned to stand immovable. When they scattered their energies in frantic action, I gathered mine in purposeful stillness. Consider the mighty oak tree. Does it grow faster if you shout at it? Does it strengthen its roots? By demanding they plunge deeper? No, it grows according to its nature, in its own time, and so must you. So must we all, whether commanding empires or commanding only our own restless hearts. I waited as reports came in from distant provinces. I waited as strategies unfolded. Across vast territories, I waited as allies gathered their forces and enemies revealed their weaknesses. But in that waiting, I was not idle. I was becoming. Each moment of patience was a chisel stroke, sculpting away my impulsiveness, my need for immediate gratification, my mortal weakness of demanding that life conform to my schedule. The irony does not escape me, that I, who could command thousands, with a gesture, had to learn that the greatest command begins with mastery of oneself. The same power is available to you. When you feel life moving too slowly, when your ambitions burn hot but progress comes cold and slow, remember, an emperor learned to wait. An emperor learned that patience is not the absence of action, but the perfection of it. You who listen now, wrestling with your own impatience, know this. I write not from the comfortable distance of philosophy, but from the blood and dust of real experience. Every word I share was bought with hours of struggle, with moments when I too wanted to rage against delay, to force the future into the present. The greatest victories of my reign came not from the moments I rushed forward, but from the moments I held back, observed, and waited for perfect timing. This is the patience I would teach you, not the patience of submission, but the patience of the warrior who knows exactly when to strike. Let this be the beginning of your transformation. As I learn to wait upon the throne of Rome, so you can learn to wait amid the challenges of your life. The power is already within you. The only question is, are you ready to embrace the strength that comes not from controlling time, but from mastering yourself in the face of it? You speak of patience as if it were a passive thing, a mere waiting, a submission to time's slow march. But I tell you now, with the weight of imperial experience behind my words, true patience is as active as any battle strategy, as powerful as any legion's charge. In the Stoic mind, patience is not the absence of action, but the perfection of timing. Think of the great hunters of the ancient world. Did they rush through the forest, crashing through undergrowth, announcing their presence to every creature? No. They moved with calculated precision, each step purposeful, each moment of stillness as important as each moment of motion. Let me share with you a truth I learned in the quiet hours before dawn. When the weight of empire pressed heavily upon my shoulders, patience is not the art of doing nothing. It is the art of doing precisely what the moment requires, no more, and no less. When action is needed, the patient man acts decisively. When stillness is needed, he becomes as immovable as the ancient hills of Rome. Consider the sculptor again, for in his art lies a profound lesson. He does not attack the marble with random strikes, hoping speed will produce beauty. Each blow of his chisel is thoughtful, measured, precise. Between each strike there is a moment of assessment, of consideration. These moments are not empty. They are filled with potential, with decision, with the quiet power of choice. I have seen generals who confused haste with progress, senators who mistook urgency for importance. They were like children trying to pull a plant from the earth to make it grow faster. True patience, in the Stoic understanding, is the wisdom to distinguish between what must be rushed and what must be allowed to ripen in its own time. In my years upon the throne, I learned to recognize patience as a form of strength that few understand. It is the strength to hold back when others rush forward, the strength to consider deeply when others act superficially, the strength to allow situations to reveal their true nature rather than imposing our desires upon them. Let me paint for you the image of patience as we Stoics understand it. Imagine a mighty river flowing toward the sea. It does not rage against the rocks in its path. It flows around them. It does not try to rush faster than its natural course. It moves with precisely the speed that gravity and its channel allow. Yet, in this seemingly passive movement, it shapes continents, carves valleys, and carries great vessels upon its surface. This is the patience I would have you cultivate. Not the weak patience of one who simply endures because they have no choice, but the powerful patience of one who chooses to move with the natural flow of events, understanding that this alignment with reality is itself a form of strength. In the Stoic mind, patience is closely tied to wisdom. It is the understanding that every situation has its own natural rhythm, its own necessary progression. To force an outcome before its time is as foolish as trying to harvest grain that has not yet ripened. The wise man, be he emperor or common citizen, learns to recognize these rhythms and work within them rather than against them. Think of the times you have rushed, pushed, demanded immediate results. What did this impatience gain you? Did forcing the issue ever truly yield better results than thoughtful, measured action would have? In my experience, both as a ruler and As a student of philosophy, haste often creates the very delays it seeks to avoid. The patient man in the Stoic understanding is like a master archer. He does not loose his arrow the moment he draws his bow. He waits for the perfect alignment of breath, wind, and target. This waiting is not passive. It is filled with potential energy, with focused awareness, with the gathered power of the perfect moment. This is the patience I practiced upon the throne of Rome. This is the patience that won battles before they were fought, solved crises before they exploded, and maintained the peace of an empire through the power of calculated restraint. This is the patience I offer to you now, not as a philosophical concept, but as a practical tool for mastery of your life and circumstances. Remember, patience in the Stoic mind is not about enduring time, but about mastering it. It is not about submitting to delay, but about choosing the perfect moment. It is not weakness masquerading as virtue, but power exercising perfect control. Let us speak now of the greatest deception that plagues the human mind, the illusion of control. You who listen, think carefully. How many of your frustrations stem from life's refusal to bend to your will? How often does your impatience spring from the gap between what you demand and what reality provides? I stood at the head of the greatest empire the world had known. Legions moved at my command. The Senate bowed to my authority. Gold flowed into Rome's coffers at my word. Yet even I, Marcus Aurelius, could not command the sun to rise one moment sooner or the seasons to change at my pleasure. Consider your own life. You plan your day with precision, marking each hour with its appointed task. Then comes the unexpected meeting, the delayed transport, the sudden illness. You grip tighter, try to force events back into their assigned places. But tell me, has this ever truly worked? Has your frustration ever made a single-minute move faster? Here is a truth I learned through years of ruling. The more we grasp at control, the more it slips through our fingers like water. Think of the merchant who demands the seas be calm for his ships. Does his demand affect the waves? Think of the farmer who rails against the drought. Do his complaints bring rain? Let me share with you a moment from my own life that taught me this lesson deeply. I sat in my war tent on the northern frontier, planning a campaign against the Germanic tribes. My maps were perfect, my strategies sound, my legions ready. Then came the rains, weeks of torrential downpour that turned the battlefield to mud, made rivers uncrossable, and delayed our advance. In my younger days, I might have raged against this impediment. I might have ordered my troops to march regardless, sacrificing lives to maintain my illusion of control. Instead, I learned to see what was truly within my power and what was not. The weather, that was beyond my control. The movement of enemy forces outside my influence. The morale of my men. The maintenance of supplies. The training during our forced wait. These were within my sphere of command. By focusing on what I could control, I transformed what seemed like delay into preparation. This is the wisdom I offer you now. In every situation that tests your patience, draw 2 circles in your mind. In the outer circle, place everything. You cannot control other people's actions, natural events, the past, the distant future. In the inner circle, place what you can control, your thoughts, your judgments, your actions in this present moment. You who feel the fire of impatience within you, listen carefully. Your power lies not in controlling external events, but in controlling your response to them. When traffic delays you, you cannot command every other vehicle to move, but you can. Choose how to use that time for reflection, for learning, for calm observation of your own thoughts. The wise person understands that trying to control what cannot be controlled is the source of all suffering. It is like trying to teach a river to flow uphill. The river will continue its natural course, and you will exhaust yourself in futile resistance. Instead, learn to distinguish between what you can and cannot influence. When faced with delay or obstruction, ask yourself, what here is truly under my control? Usually, you will find It is only your own thoughts and actions that you can command. With certainty, this understanding brings freedom. When you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, you find your energy available for what truly matters. Your mind becomes clear, your actions more effective, your patience natural rather than forced. I learned this lesson not in philosophical discourse, but in the harsh reality of governing an empire. Every day brought events I could not control, natural, disasters, betrayals, the deaths of loved ones. My peace came not from mastering these external events, but from mastering my response to them. So I say to you now, release your grip on what you cannot control. Stop exhausting yourself, trying to command the timing of life's events. Focus instead on what is truly yours to command, your judgments, your actions, your responses. This is not surrender. It is not weakness. It is the highest form of practical wisdom. By accepting what we cannot control, we gain mastery over what we can. By releasing our desperate grip on external events, we find true power in shaping our internal response. Remember, the only things truly under your control are your own thoughts and actions. Master these, and you need not master anything else. This is the beginning of true patience, true strength, and true peace. Every delay in your life is not an obstacle, it is an opportunity. Every moment that tests your patience is not a punishment, it is a gift. Let me show you how time itself becomes your greatest teacher of virtue. Think of the last time you stood in a long line, feeling your frustration mount with each passing minute. Or recall sitting in stalled traffic, watching precious time slip away. In these moments, you likely saw only lost time, wasted moments, obstacles to your goals. But I tell you now, with the wisdom of one who commanded an empire, these are your training grounds. During my reign, I faced countless delays that seemed to mock my imperial authority. Senators who droned on when decisions were urgent, messengers who arrived late with crucial information, storms that delayed military campaigns. Each of these moments presented me with a choice: to react with imperial rage or to transform the delay into an opportunity for growth. Let me share with you how to view these moments differently. When you find yourself waiting, be it in traffic, in a queue, or for news that seems unbearably slow in coming, treat it as your personal training arena. These are not empty moments to be endured. They are precious opportunities to strengthen your character. In traffic, practice your breathing. Feel the urge to honk your horn or curse other drivers, but choose serenity instead. In the queue, observe your thoughts as they arise. Notice the initial spark of impatience. Watch it try to grow into anger, then practice extinguishing it with reason. When waiting for news or results, use the time to prepare yourself for any outcome. I learned this lesson deeply during the Germanic campaigns. Winter forced our legions into months of inaction. At first, this seemed like wasted time, a frustrating pause in our military objectives. But I came to see these periods as opportunities to train not just our soldiers' bodies, but their minds, and my own. During these enforced waits, I would walk among the troops, observing how different men handled the delay. Some grew restless and agitated, their effectiveness diminishing with each passing day. Others used the time to sharpen their weapons, improve their skills, strengthen their bonds with fellow soldiers. The difference lay not in the time itself, but in how they chose to use it. This is the secret I share with you now. Time will test you. It will delay you. It will make you wait when you wish to rush forward. But in each of these moments, you have a choice. You can view the delay as an enemy to be resisted, or as a teacher offering lessons in strength, composure, and wisdom. When your train is late, you have been given minutes to practice stability of mind. When your promotion takes longer than expected, you have been given weeks to demonstrate perseverance. When your goals seem to recede into the distance despite your best efforts, you have been given the opportunity to show true courage, the courage to continue with grace when results are delayed. Consider how a blacksmith strengthens metal. Does he not repeatedly heat it, hammer it, plunge it into cold water? Each step might seem like a delay in reaching the final product, but without these steps, the metal would remain weak and unsuitable for its purpose. So too does time temper your character through repeated tests of patience. I want you to begin viewing every delay differently from this moment forward. That slow elevator becomes your chance to practice presence of mind. That delayed meeting becomes your opportunity to demonstrate professional composure. That long wait for test results becomes your training in maintaining tranquility amid uncertainty. These are not mere philosophical concepts. I tested them in the crucible of imperial responsibility. When barbarian threats required immediate response, but weather made action impossible, I learned to use the waiting time to refine strategies and strengthen preparations. When plague swept through Rome and solutions could not be rushed, I learned to maintain steady leadership while nature took its course. The true test of character is not how you act when everything moves at your preferred pace, but how you conduct yourself when time itself seems to stand against you. Every traffic jam is your battlefield. Every slow line is your training ground. Every delayed result is your opportunity to demonstrate the virtues you admire. Remember, time does not bend to our will, but it always offers us a chance to strengthen our character. The next time you face a delay, ask yourself, what virtue is time asking me to practice in this moment? Then use that delay, that pause, that waiting period as your personal academy of character. In this way, no moment is ever truly wasted. No delay is ever merely an obstacle. Everything becomes an opportunity for growth, for strengthening, for the cultivation of virtues that will serve you in all aspects of life. This is how an emperor learned patience, and how you too can transform life's delays into triumph's preparation. Within you lies a fortress that no external force can breach, a citadel of calm that stands immutable against the storms of circumstance. I speak not of some mystical realm, but of a very real sanctuary that every human being possesses, though few learn to truly inhabit it. Picture, if you will, the great walls of Rome, massive stone barriers that stood against barbarian hordes, weather and time itself. Yet even these mighty fortifications were vulnerable to siege, to betrayal, to the slow erosion of years. The fortress I speak of, the inner citadel of your mind, stands stronger than any physical wall ever built. I discovered this sanctuary during my earliest days as emperor, when the weight of imperial responsibility threatened to overwhelm me. Amid the chaos of court politics, the pressure of military campaigns, and the constant demands for immediate decisions, I found within myself a space of perfect tranquility, a fortress built not of stone, but of unshakable principles. Let me teach you how to build and strengthen your own inner citadel. First, understand that this fortress is not built in a day, just as Rome's walls were not raised in a single season. Each moment of practiced patience adds another stone. Each conscious choice to remain calm in the face of provocation strengthens its foundations. Begin with the outer walls, your initial response to life's challenges. When impatience strikes, when delays frustrate your plans, imagine these emotions as arrows striking against your fortress. They can only penetrate if you allow them passage. Practice saying to yourself, "This delay cannot enter my inner sanctuary unless I open the gate." Within these walls, establish your principles, the buildings and structures of your internal city. What do you stand for? What truths remain constant regardless of external circumstances? For me, these were the principles of justice, truth, and duty. These became my inner temples, places I could return to when the world outside grew chaotic. Create within your citadel a central square, a space of perfect clarity where you can observe your thoughts as they arise. When impatience threatens, retreat to this space. Watch the irritation approach like a merchant seeking entrance to your city. You have the power to deny it entry or to let it pass through without affecting your inner peace. In my years upon the throne, I faced countless situations that tested this fortress. Imagine receiving news of betrayal from trusted generals, yet maintaining perfect composure. Picture making decisions that would affect thousands of lives, yet keeping your mind clear and unclouded by pressure. This was possible only because I had built and maintained my inner citadel. The strength of this fortress lies not in shutting out the world, but in creating a space from which you can engage with it wisely. Think of it as a command center, not a prison. From here, you can observe events without being overwhelmed by them, respond to challenges without being consumed by them. When you feel life moving too slowly, retreat to your fortress. From its walls, observe how your impatience is merely a story you tell yourself about how things should be moving faster. Watch how this story creates suffering, yet cannot touch the calm center of your being unless you allow it. Build into your citadel a garden of contemplation. Here, cultivate thoughts that nurture patience. Plant seeds of wisdom. Nature moves at its own pace. This delay serves a purpose I may not yet understand. I have the strength to wait with dignity. Water these thoughts daily with your attention and watch them grow into unshakable truths. Remember, your inner fortress must be maintained. Each day, inspect its walls through morning reflection. Where has impatience breached your defenses? Where have you allowed external pressure to disturb your inner peace? Repair these breaches not with self-criticism, but with renewed commitment to your principles. The ultimate test of your fortress comes not when life flows smoothly, but when everything seems to conspire against your desired timing. In these moments, retreat to your citadel. Feel its solid foundations beneath your feet. Walk its familiar paths. Remember that while you cannot control the pace of external events, this sanctuary remains inviolable. I tell you this not as mere philosophy, but as tested wisdom from one who faced the greatest pressures an individual could face. If an emperor can maintain inner peace while governing an empire, you can maintain yours while navigating your daily challenges. Let every delay, every frustration, every seeming obstacle become an opportunity to strengthen your fortress. Each time you choose patience over irritation, you add another stone to its walls. Each moment you maintain calm amid chaos, you deepen its foundations. Your inner citadel awaits. It stands ready to offer you sanctuary, strength, and the deep peace that comes from knowing that while the world may not move at your preferred pace, you always have a place of perfect tranquility within. Of all the enemies you will face on your path to patience, none is more destructive than anger. It comes like a fire in the mind, promising power, but delivering only destruction. I have seen it consume the judgment of seasoned generals, the wisdom of learned senators, and the dignity of common citizens alike. Let me share with you a truth learned in the heat of imperial responsibility. Anger is nothing but impatience inflamed by pride. When life moves too slowly for our desires, when others fail to match our pace, when circumstances dare to defy our will, this is when anger rises, promising quick solutions, but delivering only chaos. I remember clearly a day when anger nearly betrayed my principles. A crucial message had been delayed by a messenger who stopped to aid a struggling family on the road. My initial reaction was imperial fury. How dare he delay matters of state? But in that moment of rising anger, I caught myself. I saw the emotion for what it was, wounded pride masquerading as righteous indignation. This is what anger does. It takes our simple impatience and transforms it into something that feels justified, even noble. We tell ourselves our rage is righteous, that our fury serves a purpose. If I don't show my anger, you think, how will they know the delay is unacceptable? But ask yourself, has anger ever truly made anything move faster? Consider a time when anger has gripped you, perhaps sitting in deadlocked traffic or waiting for someone who is running late. Feel again that heat in your chest, that tightening of your jaw, that sensation of pressure building within. Now ask yourself, did this anger serve you? Did it speed the traffic or hasten the arrival of the person you awaited? The truth is that anger is impatience turned poisonous. It takes the simple pain of waiting and transforms it into a venom that corrupts your judgment, damages your relationships, and destroys your peace of mind. Worse still, it creates the illusion of action while actually paralyzing effective response. I learned to recognize anger's approach by its harbingers: a tightening in the chest, a rush of heated thoughts, a sudden certainty that something must happen now. When these signs appear, I treat them as warnings, not of external threat, but of internal danger. This recognition is your first defense against anger's assault on patience. Let me teach you the method I developed for dismantling anger before it can take root. When you feel that familiar heat rising, first name it. This is anger arriving. Then question it. What has been delayed or denied that my pride cannot accept? Finally, reduce it to its true proportion. How important will this delay seem? In a month, a year, a decade? During my campaigns against the northern tribes, I faced countless situations that invited anger's counsel: supplies delayed by weather, tactics frustrated by terrain, intelligence arriving too late to be useful. Each time anger arose, promising quick solutions through force or punishment, I had to choose between its false strength and the true power of strategic patience. Think of anger as a military advisor who always counsels immediate attack, regardless of circumstances. Would you trust such an advisor? Would you stake your forces on such single-minded strategy? Yet this is precisely what we do when we allow anger to guide our responses to life's delays and frustrations. The next time you feel anger rising in response to a delay, imagine it as a subordinate bursting into your command tent, urging immediate action. As emperor, I learned to say to such impulses, "Your urgency is noted, but we will proceed with wisdom rather than haste. You have the same authority over your anger. Remember this: anger is not strength. True strength lies in maintaining clarity. When anger would cloud your vision, in choosing wise action, when anger demands immediate reaction. The generals I most trusted were not those who raged at setbacks, but those who maintained their composure and found opportunities within delays. Practice viewing your anger with detachment. When it arises, say to yourself, "I see that anger has arrived to advise me, but I am not obliged to follow its counsel." This distance between your observing mind and the anger itself is your greatest weapon in maintaining patience. Here is a truth that may surprise you. Anger is often a sign of weakness, not strength. It shows that our patience has failed, that our composure has cracked, that our wisdom has been overwhelmed by primitive impulses. The truly strong can maintain their purpose without anger's false aid. So I say to you, make anger your teacher rather than your master. Each time it arises, let it remind you to return to patience, to rebuild your composure, to recommit to wise action rather than heated reaction. In this way, even anger can serve your growth, though not in the way it intends. Your task is not to eliminate anger, for it will always arise, but to learn to recognize it quickly, examine it wisely, and let it pass without acting on its demands. This is how you transform anger from an enemy of endurance into a sentinel that warns you when your patience needs strengthening. Though I speak to you across the centuries, I see clearly the particular challenges of your time. Your world moves at a pace that would bewilder even an emperor of Rome. Every device demands immediate attention. Every message expects instant response. Every desire can be satisfied with the press of a button. Yet in this rushing river of constant activity, you have lost something precious, the power of patient contemplation. Let me show you how the ancient wisdom of patience serves as an antidote to this modern poison of perpetual hurry. In my time, we waited weeks for messages to cross the empire. Now you grow restless if a message takes seconds to deliver. In my time, we watched seasons change to mark the passage of time. Now you watch minutes tick by on glowing screens. Each moment an urgency, each delay a crisis. This constant rush has weakened you, though you may not realize it. Like a soldier who never rests between battles, your mind has lost its ability to be still, to wait, to let wisdom ripen in its own time. The notifications that interrupt your thoughts, the endless scroll of information, the mechanical urgency of digital timers, all these conspire to destroy true patience. But consider this. Has this speed brought you peace? Has instant gratification made you more content? Has the ability to do everything quickly given you more satisfaction in anything? I suspect you know the answer. The faster life moves, the less you truly experience it. The more you can rush, the less you can savor. In my time as emperor, I learned that the most crucial decisions, the most important insights, the most valuable realizations came not from speed, but from measured contemplation. A general who rushed to battle without proper preparation found only defeat. A ruler who made hasty judgments based on partial information served neither justice nor wisdom. Let me teach you how to reclaim the power of patience in your rushed world. Begin with small acts of deliberate waiting. When your device notifies you, pause. Let the moment stretch. Feel the urge to respond immediately, but choose not to. This is not laziness, it is training. You are teaching your mind that not everything requires instant action. When you eat, resist the modern habit of rushing through your meal while attending to other tasks. Eat as we did in Rome, with attention, with appreciation, with the understanding that good things take time to be savored. Let each bite be a lesson in patience, each meal a meditation on the value of unhurried attention. Your world offers endless entertainment, endless distraction, endless ways to fill every moment with activity. But wisdom grows in the spaces between activities, in the moments of reflection that only patience can provide. Create these spaces deliberately. Let yourself experience emptiness without rushing to fill it. Watch how your mind reacts to these practiced pauses. You may feel anxiety at first. The modern disease of thinking every moment must be productive. You may feel the urge to reach for your device, to check messages, to fill the silence with noise. Resist these urges. They are the withdrawal symptoms of an addiction to hurry. I want you to begin building islands of patience in your day. When you wait for transport, don't immediately reach for distraction. Stand still. Observe your surroundings as a general would survey a battlefield. When you find yourself in a queue, don't instantly seek entertainment. Use the time for reflection, for strengthening your mind's ability to be present without constant stimulation. Your devices promise to save you time, yet somehow you have less of it than ever. They promise to connect you to others, yet you feel more disconnected from yourself. They promise to make life easier, yet you find it harder to find peace. This is because they feed the illusion that speed is the same as progress, that busyness is the same as purpose. Learn to recognize the false urgency of the modern world. When a message arrives, ask yourself, does this truly require immediate attention? When you feel the urge to rush through a task, question, what am I gaining by hurrying? What am I losing? When technology demands your instant response, remember, you are the emperor of your attention. You choose when to give it. Create rituals of patience in your daily life. Before responding to any message, take 3 deep breaths. Before making any decision that feels urgent, pause to question that urgency. Before rushing to your next task, give yourself permission to move at a dignified pace. These are not delays. They are investments in wisdom. Remember, the empire of your mind requires careful governance. Just as I would not let foreign powers dictate Rome's actions, do not let the rushed pace of the modern world dictate your internal rhythm. Establish your own pace, one that allows for thought, for wisdom, for true experience of each moment. This is your antidote to modern hurry, not rejection of your time's tools and conveniences, but mastery over how you use them. Let them serve your pace, not set it. Let them enhance your life, not rule it. In this way, you can live fully in your world while maintaining the timeless power of patience. In the quiet hours before dawn, when Rome still slept and the weight of empire rested heavy on my shoulders, I learned perhaps the most crucial lesson of patience: the power of silence. Not merely the absence of noise, but the presence of something deeper, a stillness that teaches wisdom no activity can reveal. You live in a world that fears silence. Every moment must be filled with sound, with movement, with distraction. But I tell you now, with the certainty of one who commanded legions, true strength begins in silence. True patience is born in those moments when you learn to sit still with yourself, undistracted, undefended. Let me share with you how I discovered this truth. During the Germanic campaigns, I would often rise before my troops, finding a solitary spot to watch the sun rise over foreign lands. In these moments of perfect silence, when even nature seemed to hold its breath, I found clarity no council of advisors could provide. This practice of silence is not passive. It is as active as any military drill, as purposeful as any strategic planning. When you first attempt it, your mind will rebel. It will fill with urgent thoughts, with demands for action, with the thousand small concerns that seem to require immediate attention. This is normal. This is your first test. Begin with small periods of intentional silence. Find a place where you can be undisturbed, your own private audience chamber, as it were. Start with just 5 minutes. Sit upright, dignified, as if you were holding court. Now, simply be present with whatever arises in your mind without acting on it. Watch how your thoughts appear like petitioners seeking an emperor's attention. Some come bearing urgent requests, others with complaints, still others with fears or desires. Your task is not to banish these thoughts, but to observe them, with the steady gaze of a ruler who knows that not every petition requires immediate action. In these moments of silence, you will begin to distinguish between true urgency and mere impatience. You will see how many of your reactions are habitual rather than necessary. Most importantly, you will discover a strength that can only be found in stillness, the strength to wait, to observe, to choose your moment with wisdom rather than react with haste. I want you to understand, this practice of silence is not an escape from life's demands. It is preparation for meeting them with greater wisdom. Just as a sword must be periodically returned to stillness to maintain its edge, your mind requires these moments of silence to maintain its clarity. When I faced decisions that would affect thousands of lives, I would first retreat into silence, not to avoid the decision, but to create space around it. In silence, the urgent often reveals itself as merely temporary, while the truly important becomes clear. This is a wisdom your rushed world desperately needs. Practice sitting with discomfort in silence. When you feel the urge to check your devices, to fill the quiet with noise, to rush to the next activity, pause. Stay in the silence. Feel the discomfort rise and fall like waves on a shore. This is how you build patience that can withstand any storm. Learn to recognize different qualities of silence. There is the tense silence before a battle, the peaceful silence of dawn, the heavy silence of grief, the pregnant silence of anticipation. Each has its lesson to teach if you have the patience to listen. Each can strengthen your capacity to wait with purpose rather than fidget with anxiety. In my years upon the throne, I learned that the quality of my rule was directly related to my capacity for silence. The more I could sit in undistracted presence with my own thoughts, the clearer my decisions became. The more I could remain still in the face of urgency, the more wisdom informed my actions. This is the practice I offer you now. In your world of constant noise and movement, create sanctuaries of silence. Let them be training grounds for patience. When you feel overwhelmed by life's pace, return to silence. When decisions press upon you, retreat first into stillness. When others demand immediate action, find your center in quiet presence. Remember, silence is not empty. It is full of wisdom waiting to be heard. Every time you choose to sit in silence, rather than rush to distraction, you strengthen your patience. Every moment you remain still, rather than react immediately, you build your capacity for wise action. Your task is not to eliminate all noise from your life. That would be neither possible nor desirable. Your task is to develop such strength in silence that you can maintain your inner stillness even amid life's inevitable storms. This is how you build patience that cannot be shaken by external events. Start today. Find 5 minutes of complete silence. Sit with dignity. Observe your mind's rebellion against stillness. Notice the urge to fill the silence with activity. And choose with the authority of an emperor to remain still. This is your first step toward a patience that will serve you in all aspects of life. Let us speak now of the fundamental distinction that lies at the heart of true patience. The line between what you can control and what you cannot. This separation is not merely philosophical. It is the practical foundation upon which all lasting patience is built. Imagine for a moment that you command a vast army, as I once did. You can control the training of your troops, the maintenance of their equipment, the layout of their camp. But you cannot control the weather that may impede their march, the terrain they must cross, or the movements of enemy forces beyond your sight. A wise general knows this distinction and plans accordingly. In your own life, this principle remains just as vital. You can control your responses, your preparations, your decisions, but you cannot control time's passage, other people's actions, or the 1,000 natural events that may delay or divert your plans. Understanding this distinction is not defeat. It is the beginning of true power. Let me share with you a method I developed during my years of rule. Draw 2 circles in your mind. In the inner circle, place everything that lies within your power, your thoughts, your judgments, your actions, your responses. In the outer circle, place everything beyond your control, other people's decisions, natural events, the past, the distant future. When impatience arises, ask yourself, which circle contains the source of my frustration? Most often, you will find that you are struggling against something in the outer circle, something you cannot control. This is the root of unnecessary suffering. You cannot command time to move faster, yet how often do you rage against its pace? Consider a common situation in your world, waiting for response to an important message. You can control the clarity of your communication, the timing of when you send it, your preparation for various responses. You cannot control when or how the other person will reply. Focus your energy on the first circle, and you will find patience comes more naturally. In my time as emperor, I faced countless situations that tested this principle. Plague swept through Rome. I could not control its spread, but I could control our response. Barbarian tribes threatened our borders. I could not control their movements, but I could control our preparations. Weather delayed crucial campaigns. I could not command the skies, but I could maintain the army's readiness. This distinction becomes your shield against impatience. When delays frustrate you, ask, what here is truly under my control? Focus your energy there. The traffic will move at its own pace, but you can control how you use that time. The healing of an injury follows its own schedule, but you can control your rehabilitation efforts. Let me teach you how to apply this wisdom practically. When faced with any situation that tests your patience, follow these steps. First, name what frustrates you. Be specific. I am frustrated that this project is taking longer than expected. Second, separate the elements. What aspects can you influence? What aspects are beyond your control? Be ruthlessly honest in this assessment. Third, direct your energy only toward what you can affect. Release your grip on everything else. This is not surrender. It is strategic focus. I witnessed many generals waste their strength raging against circumstances they could not change. Weather, terrain, the decisions of enemies. The best commanders accepted these unchangeable factors and focused their energy on what they could control. troop preparation, supply lines, tactical positioning. This principle extends to every aspect of life. In relationships, you cannot control another's feelings or actions, but you can control your own behavior and responses. In career advancement, you cannot control when opportunities arise, but you can control your preparation for them. In personal growth, you cannot control how quickly skills develop, but you can control your practice and dedication. The peace this understanding brings is profound. When you truly accept what lies beyond your control, you stop wasting energy fighting it. This energy becomes available for what you can actually influence. Your patience grows naturally because you're no longer exhausting yourself trying to control the uncontrollable. Remember, this distinction is not about passivity. You do not ignore what lies beyond your control. You acknowledge it, factor it into your plans, and then focus on your sphere of influence. This is active acceptance, strategic patience. Think of patience itself this way. You cannot control the need for patience, but you can control how you develop and express it. You cannot control life's delays, but you can control your response to them. You cannot control time's passage, but you can control how you use whatever time you have. This is the emperor's wisdom. True power lies not in trying to control everything, but in knowing what you can control and mastering yourself in relation to everything else. This is the foundation of patience that cannot be shaken, because it is built on truth rather than wishes. Practice this distinction daily. In every situation that tests your patience, draw those two circles in your mind. Place each element where it truly belongs. Then focus your energy only on what lies within your power. This is how you build patience that is both practical and profound. Now we come to a practical skill that served me well in governing an empire. The art of the strategic pause. This is not mere hesitation, but a powerful tool that transforms reactive impatience into deliberate wisdom. Let me teach you how to master this essential practice. Think of the pause as a weapon in your arsenal, as vital as any sword or shield. Just as a skilled warrior knows the precise moment to strike or hold back, you must learn the exact timing of the conscious pause. This is not about slowing down for its own sake. It is about creating space for wisdom to emerge. In my years upon the throne, I developed a specific technique for this practice. When faced with any situation that triggered impatience, a delayed report, a diplomatic crisis, a military setback, I would consciously create a gap between the trigger and my response. In this gap lay the seed of true patience. Let me share with you the exact method. First, recognize the moment impatience arises. Feel that familiar tightening in your chest, that surge of urgent energy, that desire for immediate action. This recognition is your signal to deploy the pause. Now take 3 deliberate breaths. Make them slow, controlled, imperial in their dignity. On the first breath, acknowledge the situation triggering your impatience. On the second breath, feel the physical sensations of urgency in your body. On the third breath, create space between these sensations and your response. This pause need not be long. Even a moment can be sufficient if it is fully conscious. Think of it as the space between seeing an opponent's move and choosing your counter move. Too quick a response may be a mistake. Too long a delay may miss the opportunity. The art lies in finding the perfect middle path. I want you to practice this pause in specific situations. When someone speaks, resist the urge to respond immediately. Take 1 conscious breath before replying. When a message arrives demanding attention, pause before opening it. When plans are disrupted, pause before reacting. Each pause is a moment of power, a chance to choose wisdom over reaction. Consider how this practice would serve you in daily life. When traffic frustrates you, pause before hitting the horn. When someone's words anger you, pause before responding. When technology fails you, pause before letting frustration take control. These small moments of restraint build the muscle of lasting patience. The pause serves multiple purposes. It breaks the automatic chain of reaction that leads to impatience. It gives you time to assess the true urgency of any situation. Most importantly, it reminds you of your power to choose your response rather than being driven by immediate impulse. Let me teach you the levels of the pause as I practice them in imperial governance. The first level is the physical pause, literally stopping all movement for a moment. The second is the mental pause, creating space between thoughts. The third is the strategic pause, using that space to choose the wisest response. Practice these pauses in order of difficulty. Begin with simple physical pauses throughout your day. Stop for one breath before entering a room. Pause before starting your vehicle. Stand still for a moment before beginning any task. These small practices build the foundation for larger patience. Graduate to mental pauses. When thoughts race toward impatience, consciously slow them. Imagine your thoughts as petitioners seeking an emperor's attention. You need not respond to each one immediately. Let them wait in the antechamber of your mind while you maintain your composure. Finally, master the strategic pause. This is the level where patience becomes power. In any situation that tests you, pause long enough to ask, what does wisdom require here? What would my highest self do? What choice will I be proud of tomorrow? Remember, the pause is not an escape from action, but a preparation for more effective action. Just as a bowman draws back before releasing the arrow, just as a wrestler gathers himself before making his move, your pause generates power for whatever comes next. I employed this practice in matters of state, war, and personal conduct. Before sending troops into battle, I would pause to consider all implications. Before passing judgment, I would pause to ensure justice guided my decision. Before responding to crisis, I would pause to find the path of wisdom. Make the pause your ally in building patience. When life moves too fast, pause. When emotions run hot, pause. When demands pile up, pause. In that space between stimulus and response lies your greatest power, the power to choose patience over reaction, wisdom over impulse. Your task now is to practice this pause until it becomes as natural as breathing. Start small, one conscious pause every hour. Graduate to pausing before every significant action. Eventually, let the pause become your default response to any challenge to your patience. This is how an emperor learned to rule himself before ruling others. This is how you too can develop the patience that transforms reactive impulse into considered wisdom. The pause is your path to power. Use it well. There are times when patience is tested not by mere delay, but by the sting of injustice. I speak now of those moments when you face not just frustration but genuine wrong, betrayal, deceit, undeserved criticism, or malicious opposition. These are the times that test not just your patience, but your very character. Let me share with you how I faced such challenges as emperor. Imagine discovering that a trusted general had betrayed military secrets to our enemies, that a respected senator had embezzled from the treasury, that supposed allies plotted against Rome's interests. These were not theoretical problems. They were real challenges that required both action and patience. The first instinct when faced with injustice is to react immediately, to strike back with the full force of your position. But I learned, through bitter experience, that hasty reaction to injustice often creates greater injustice. The art lies in maintaining patience without surrendering to passivity, in responding with wisdom rather than reaction. Consider how this applies to your own life. Perhaps you face unfair treatment at work, betrayal in relationships, or opposition to your rightful goals. The temptation is to respond immediately, to demand instant resolution. But often, the wisest response requires strategic patience, not to ignore the wrong, but to address it effectively. Let me teach you the method I developed for handling injustice with patient strength. First, acknowledge the wrong fully. Do not minimize it or pretend. It doesn't affect you. Feel the natural surge of emotion, but do not let it rule your response. Like a general receiving news of enemy movement, you must feel the impact without losing strategic clarity. Next, separate the injustice itself from your response to it. The wrong may be beyond your control, but your response remains within your power. This is crucial. You cannot always prevent injustice, but you can always choose how you meet it. This choice is where your true power lies. During my reign, I faced numerous betrayals from those I had trusted. Each time I had to balance the need for justice with the wisdom of patience. Quick punishment might satisfy immediate anger, but patient investigation often revealed deeper truths and allowed for more effective resolution. Develop what I call strategic endurance, the ability to maintain composure while working toward justice. This is not passive acceptance of wrong, but the disciplined patience of one who knows that right action requires right timing. Like a hunter tracking prey, you must know when to move and when to wait. When facing injustice, ask yourself these questions. What response will be most effective, not just most satisfying? What timing will serve justice best? What approach will prevent this wrong from happening again? These questions guide you from reactive impatience to strategic patience. Remember, patience in the face of injustice does not mean inaction. It means choosing your moments with wisdom, preparing your response with thoroughness, and acting from strength rather than reaction. The most effective justice often requires the most careful patience. I want you to understand the difference between patience and submission. When I faced betrayal in my court, my patience was not weakness. It was the calculated restraint of one gathering evidence, understanding the full situation, and preparing an effective response. This is the patience of the hunter, not the hunted. Practice this approach in your own life. When someone wrongs you, resist the urge to respond immediately. Instead, use that first surge of emotion as a signal to engage your strategic patience. Give yourself time to understand the situation fully, to consider various responses, to choose the most effective path forward. This patience serves multiple purposes. It prevents you from making hasty decisions that may worsen the situation. It gives you time to gather allies and resources. Most importantly, it allows you to respond from wisdom rather than wounded pride. Learn to recognize the difference between situations that require immediate response and those that benefit from patient strategy. Not every injustice must be addressed instantly. Some require careful preparation, gathering of evidence, building of support. This discernment is part of strategic patience. In my years of rule, I learned that the most effective responses to injustice often came not from immediate reaction, but from patient preparation. When faced with corruption in the Senate, hasty accusations would have created only denial and resistance. Patient investigation allowed for irrefutable evidence and lasting reform. Your task when facing injustice is threefold. Maintain your dignity through patient strength, prepare your response with strategic wisdom, and act when the moment is right. This is not the patience of weakness, but the patience of one who knows their power and chooses their timing. Remember, endurance in the face of injustice is not about bearing wrong silently, but about responding to it effectively. Your patience is not surrender. It is the disciplined power of one who knows that justice, like all important things, sometimes requires careful timing and thorough preparation. This is how an emperor learned to handle betrayal and injustice. This is how you too can develop the patient strength to face wrongs effectively rather than reactively. Let your patience be your power, your restraint your strength, your timing your victory. There exists a wisdom in delay that the impatient mind cannot comprehend. Not every seed must sprout today. Not every battle must be fought at dawn. Not every decision must be made in haste. Let me share with you what time itself taught me about the power of strategic delay. Consider the mighty oak tree again. If you were to demand its full growth in a season, you would receive nothing but disappointment. Yet this same tree, given proper time, becomes strong enough to withstand centuries of storms. This is not just a metaphor, it is a fundamental principle of how wisdom unfolds in our lives. During my reign, I learned to recognize different types of time. There is the rushing time of emergency when immediate action is truly needed. There is the steady time of growth, which cannot be hastened. There is the ripening time of opportunity, which must be sensed rather than forced. Each requires its own form of patience. Let me teach you how to distinguish between these times. When a situation presents itself, ask first, what kind of time does this require? Is it the swift time of necessary action, the slow time of natural development, or the strategic time of careful preparation? This discernment is the beginning of wisdom. I faced this choice countless times as emperor. When barbarians threatened our borders, swift time was needed, immediate response to protect our people. When developing new leaders for the empire, growth time was essential. No amount of hurry could produce wisdom before its season. When negotiating with other nations, strategic time was crucial, knowing when to advance and when to wait. Learn to recognize false urgency, the voice that says everything must happen now. This voice is often fear disguised as importance, anxiety masquerading as necessity. True urgency has a different quality. It is calm, clear, and specific about what requires immediate attention. In my years of rule, I developed a method for testing urgency. When faced with pressure to act quickly, I would ask, what changes if I wait 1 day, 1 week, 1 month? Often the answer revealed that immediate action was not as crucial as it first appeared. This is not procrastination. It is strategic. Timing. Like a farmer who knows the seasons, you must learn when to act and when to wait. Planting too early leads to frost-killed seedlings. Harvesting too late leads to rotted crops. Wisdom lies in knowing the right time for each action. Practice this discernment in your daily life. When pressure mounts to make an immediate decision, pause and ask, is this truly time-sensitive, or am I rushing from habit? When others demand instant response, consider, what benefits might come from careful delay? I want you to understand the difference between active waiting and passive delay. Active waiting is strategic. You use the time to prepare, to gather resources, to strengthen your position. Passive delay is mere postponement, often born of fear or avoidance. Learn to make your waiting time productive time. Consider how this applies to your goals and ambitions. Some achievements cannot be rushed. They require time for development, for learning, for the gathering of experience. Trying to force premature results often leads to failure or shallow success. True mastery has its own timeline. In matters of state, I learned that some decisions improved with delay. Initial reactions were often emotional, influenced by incomplete information or temporary pressures. Time allowed for deeper understanding, for consulting wise advisors, for seeing patterns that were not immediately apparent. This wisdom applies equally to personal matters. When emotions run high, delay can be your ally. When facing important choices, time can be your counselor. When building anything of lasting value, relationships, skills, understanding, patience becomes your foundation. Learn to trust the wisdom of natural timing. Just as fruit ripens in its season, wisdom develops according to its own schedule. You cannot force insight before its time, but you can create conditions that allow it to. There will come times in your life when the body fails you, when illness saps your strength, when fatigue clouds your mind, when physical limitations test your patience. I speak now not as an emperor dispensing abstract wisdom, but as one who faced these challenges personally, who learned to find strength in limitation. Let me share with you my own experience with physical weakness. Few know that while commanding armies and governing an empire, I suffered from chronic ailments that would have broken a lesser patience. Chronic chest pains, difficulties in breathing, digestive troubles that no physician could fully cure. These were my constant companions on the throne. But in these very limitations, I discovered a profound truth. When the body is weak, the mind has an opportunity to demonstrate its true strength. Physical limitation becomes a teacher of patience if you have the wisdom to learn its lessons. Every illness, every restriction, every moment of fatigue becomes a training ground for mental fortitude. Consider how this applies to your own experiences of physical limitation. Perhaps you face chronic pain, recurring illness, or the natural decline that comes with age. These conditions seem to demand immediate relief, yet often require patient endurance. Here is where you can transform mere waiting into warrior's training. I developed specific practices for maintaining patience when the body rebelled. First, accept the reality of your current physical state without resentment. Fighting against what cannot be immediately changed only creates additional suffering. Instead, focus your energy on what remains within your control, your attitude, your thoughts, your response to limitation. When illness forced me to rest when I wished to be active, I learned to use these periods for reflection and strategic thinking. Unable to move as I wished, I moved in my mind, planning campaigns, considering policies, developing wisdom. This is not mere compensation, it is transformation of limitation into opportunity. Let me teach you how to practice this patience. When your body fails you, begin by separating physical discomfort from mental suffering. The pain or limitation itself may be unavoidable, but your mental response to it remains your choice. Like a general who loses the use of one arm but learns to fight more effectively with the other, adapt rather than surrender. In times of physical weakness, establish new measures of progress. Perhaps you cannot move as quickly as before, but can you move with greater precision? Perhaps you cannot work as long, but can you work with better focus? These adjustments are not compromises. They are tactical adaptations that often lead to unexpected strengths. During my campaigns, there were days when illness would have kept a common soldier in bed, yet the empire required its emperor's presence and decisions. I learned to pace myself carefully, to find ways to lead effectively even when physically compromised. This taught me that true strength often lies in careful management rather than brute force. Practice what I call strategic endurance, the art of accomplishing what must be done while respecting your body's current limitations. This requires careful attention to timing, to the management of energy, to the difference between necessary and optional actions. In this way, physical limitation becomes a teacher of efficiency. When fatigue or illness tests your patience, remember, this too is part of your training. Just as a soldier must learn to fight in all conditions, heat, cold, rain, darkness, you must learn to maintain your mental strength regardless of physical condition. This is not about ignoring the body's needs, but about transcending its limitations. I want you to understand the difference between pushing through limitation unwisely and managing it strategically. The first leads to breakdown, the second leads to breakthrough. When the body is weak, listen to it, not to surrender to its weakness, but to understand how to work within its current capabilities. In my years of rule, I learned that physical limitation often brought unexpected gifts. Forced to slow down, I found deeper insights. Required to rest, I developed better delegation skills. Unable to rely on physical strength alone, I cultivated diplomatic and strategic abilities that served Rome far better than mere force could have. Your task when facing physical limitation is not to fight against it frantically, but to adapt to it wisely. Find ways to accomplish what must be done while respecting your current physical reality. This is not surrender. It is strategic adaptation, the mark of a true warrior's wisdom. Remember, the body's weakness need not weaken the mind's resolve. In fact, physical limitation can strengthen mental fortitude if you approach it with the right understanding. Let each physical challenge become an opportunity to demonstrate the mind's superior strength. This is how an emperor learned to rule effectively even when physically compromised. This is how you, too, can develop the patience to work with your body's limitations rather than against them. Let physical weakness teach you mental strength. Let limitation guide you to wisdom. Now we turn to perhaps the greatest test of patience, the art of guiding and influencing others. Whether you lead an empire or a household, whether you guide soldiers or children, the fundamental truth remains. Lasting influence requires lasting patience. Let me share with you the wisdom I gained in both ruling Rome and raising my own children. Consider first the nature of influence itself. Just as you cannot force a plant to grow faster by pulling at its stems, you cannot force genuine change in others through mere authority. True leadership, like true parenting, requires the patience to allow growth to occur at its natural pace, while providing consistent guidance and support. I learned this lesson both as a father and as an emperor. My own children, like the empire itself, required different forms of patience. Some needed gentle encouragement, others firm boundaries. Some flourished with freedom, others required careful structure. The art lay not in forcing all into the same mold, but in having the patience to understand and work with each unique nature. Let me teach you the method I developed for practicing patience in leadership and relationships. First, recognize that every person, like every province of the empire, has its own character, its own pace of development, its own challenges and strengths. Your task is not to demand uniformity, but to have the patience to work with these individual qualities. When dealing with others, be they children, subordinates, or peers, resist the urge to demand immediate compliance or understanding. Instead, ask yourself, what is the natural pace of growth for this person? What kind of support do they need? What obstacles must they overcome in their own time? I faced this challenge daily in governing Rome. Some reforms could be implemented swiftly. Others required years of careful preparation and gradual implementation. Some people adapted quickly to new ideas. Others needed time to understand and accept change. Patience meant respecting these different rhythms while maintaining clear direction. In raising children, as in leading an empire, consistency proves more powerful than intensity. Better to maintain steady, patient guidance than to alternate between periods of intense involvement and neglect. Like a gardener tending different plants, each requiring its own care, you must develop the patience to work with different growth patterns. Practice what I call developmental patience, the understanding that meaningful change and growth cannot be rushed. When teaching new skills, when building trust, when helping others overcome challenges, remember that genuine development follows its own timeline. Your role is to provide steady support while respecting this natural progression. During my reign, I learned that the most effective leaders were not those who demanded immediate results, but those who had the patience to develop their people over time. They understood that building capability, like building character, requires sustained effort and careful attention to individual needs. This same principle applies in all relationships. Whether dealing with family, friends, colleagues, or subordinates, remember that trust builds slowly, understanding develops gradually, and genuine change requires time. Impatience in relationships often destroys what patience would have built. Learn to recognize the difference between enabling and supporting. Enabling comes from impatience, the desire to solve problems quickly by removing obstacles that others should learn to overcome. Supporting comes from patience, providing guidance and encouragement while allowing others to develop their own strength. In my years as both father and emperor, I discovered that the most crucial moments often came not in dramatic interventions, but in small, consistent interactions. A word of encouragement here, a gentle correction there, a steady example maintained. Over time, these patient actions shaped character more effectively than any sudden decree. Your task in leading or influencing others is not to force rapid change, but to create conditions that support healthy growth. Like a skilled architect who knows that rushing construction leads to weak foundations, you must have the patience to build relationships and capability properly. Remember, leadership is not about achieving immediate compliance, but about developing lasting capability. Parenting is not about controlling behavior, but about nurturing character. Both require the patience to allow growth to occur at its natural pace while maintaining clear direction and consistent support. This is how an emperor learned to lead, not through force, but through patient development. This is how you too can develop the patience to influence others effectively, whether in family, work, or community. Let your patience be your strength, your consistency, your power, your understanding, your guide. Now we come to the highest form of patience, the love of fate itself, what we Stoics call amor fati. This is not mere acceptance of what happens, but a profound embrace of life exactly as it unfolds. Let me share with you how this principle transforms mere endurance into transcendent strength. Consider for a moment the difference between one who merely tolerates fate and one who loves it. The first bears life's delays and difficulties with gritted teeth, fighting internally against what cannot be changed. The second welcomes each moment, even the difficult ones, as necessary parts of life's unfolding. This is the difference between patience that exhausts and patience that energizes. I learned this truth through experiences that would test any mortal's acceptance. Imagine receiving news of plague spreading through your cities, of trusted allies betraying your confidence, of beloved family members dying despite all efforts to save them. These were not philosophical exercises for me, they were the reality of my life as emperor. Let me teach you how to transform mere acceptance into true amor fati. Begin by understanding that everything that happens, every delay, every setback, every apparent obstacle, is a necessary part of your path. Just as a story requires both triumph and challenge to be meaningful, your life requires both ease and difficulty to develop its full potential. When facing situations that test your patience, start by saying to yourself, "This too is part of my path. This too serves my development. This too has its purpose." Notice the difference between this attitude and mere resignation. You are not simply tolerating what happens. You are embracing it as essential. During my reign, I practiced this principle daily. When storms delayed military campaigns, I would say, "This too is necessary." When illness confined me to bed while urgent matters waited, I would think, "This too serves a purpose." When trusted advisors proved false, I would reflect, "This too develops my wisdom." Practice what I call active acceptance, the conscious choice to not only accept, but welcome whatever life presents. This is not passive submission, but the highest form of engagement with reality. Like a skilled wrestler who uses an opponent's force rather than fighting against it, you learn to work with life rather than against it. I want you to understand the profound power in this approach. When you truly love what fate brings, even its challenges and delays, you free enormous amounts of energy that would otherwise be spent in resistance. This energy becomes available for creative response, for strategic thinking, for genuine growth. In my years of rule, I observed that those who fought against fate exhausted themselves needlessly, while those who learned to work with it, to love it, maintained their strength through the greatest challenges. The difference lay not in what they faced, but in how they embraced what they faced. Learn to recognize the signs of resistance in yourself. Notice when you begin to argue with reality, to wish things were different than they are, to fight against the necessary unfolding of events. This awareness is your first step toward transforming resistance into embrace. Consider how this principle applies to patience specifically. When you love fate, delays become opportunities. Obstacles become teachers, setbacks become setups for greater understanding. This is not positive thinking. It is practical engagement with reality in its fullest sense. In managing the empire, I faced countless situations that could have been seen as unfortunate delays or unwelcome obstacles. By choosing to love these very situations, to embrace them as necessary parts of governing wisely, I transformed potential frustration into practical wisdom. Your task is to develop this same capacity, to love not only the smooth and easy parts of life, but also its challenges and delays. This love is not emotional, but philosophical, not sentimental, but practical. It is the love of a warrior for the battlefield that makes them stronger, of a scholar for the difficult texts that develop their understanding. Remember, everything that tests your patience also strengthens it if you learn to embrace rather than resist. Every delay has its purpose, every setback its lesson, every challenge its gift, but only if you have the wisdom to love what fate brings. This is not an easy practice. It requires constant attention, regular renewal of your commitment to embrace, rather than merely endure. But with time and practice, you can develop the ability to welcome whatever life presents, to find opportunity and obstacle, to love fate itself. This is how an emperor learned to rule not just an empire, but his own response to life's unfolding. This is how you, too, can develop patience that goes beyond mere endurance to become genuine love of life, exactly as it presents itself. Let amor fati be your guide, your strength, your way of meeting every moment with equal readiness. The greatest test of patience comes not in crisis, but in preparation. Any soldier can show brief courage in battle, but it takes deeper strength to train diligently in times of peace. Let me share with you how to build patience, not just for moments of challenge, but as a daily practice that prepares you for whatever life may bring. Think of patience as a muscle that must be exercised regularly, not just called upon in moments of need. Just as a legion trains constantly, not only when war threatens, you must practice patience deliberately, systematically, daily. This is how you build strength that does not fail when truly tested. I developed specific exercises in patience during my years as emperor, practices that served me well when facing the empire's greatest challenges. Let me teach you these methods, adapted for your own life and circumstances. These are not mere philosophical concepts, but practical tools for developing lasting patience. Begin each day with what I call the morning review. Before engaging with the day's demands, take time to prepare your mind for patience. Remind yourself, today will bring delays I cannot foresee. Today will test my patience in ways I cannot predict. Today is my opportunity to practice strength through patience. Create deliberate practices throughout your day. When drinking water, take slightly longer than necessary. When walking, maintain a measured pace, even if you could go faster. When speaking, pause briefly before responding. These small exercises build the habit of patience in manageable moments. During my reign, I would purposely delay certain non-urgent decisions, not from indecision, but as practice in patience. Even when I knew what action I would take, I would sometimes wait, using the time to examine the decision from all angles. This practice served me well when genuine uncertainty required careful delay. Institute what I call patience protocols, specific responses you develop for common situations that test your patience. When stuck in traffic, practice measured breathing. When waiting in line, observe details of your surroundings. When facing delays, use the time for mental review of your goals and principles. The key to these practices is regularity. Just as a soldier does not become strong by training only occasionally, your patience will not develop through sporadic practice. Make these exercises as regular as eating or sleeping. Let them become so natural that they engage automatically when needed. I want you to understand, these are not passive exercises. Each is an active engagement with the art of patience. When you deliberately slow your pace, you're not just moving slower. You're practicing the mental control that patience requires. When you pause before speaking, you're not just being silent. You're strengthening your command over impulse. In my years of rule, I observed that those who practiced patience regularly handled crises with greater composure than those who only attempted patience when forced to it. The difference was not in natural temperament, but in systematic preparation. Develop what I call patience scenarios, mental exercises where you imagine situations that would test your patience and rehearse your response. Picture yourself maintaining composure in traffic, staying calm during delays, responding with wisdom rather than reaction when plans are disrupted. Create a daily journal of patience, as I did in my own writings. Record situations that tested your patience, how you responded, what you learned. This is not mere record-keeping. It is active reflection that deepens your understanding and strengthens your practice. Remember, the time to develop patience is not when it is desperately needed, but in the quiet moments when it seems unnecessary. Like a weapon that must be maintained in peace to be reliable in war, your patience must be developed and strengthened before it is severely tested. Practice patience, even in small matters. When technology frustrates you, when a meal takes longer to prepare than expected, when someone speaks more slowly than you would like, use these as opportunities for practice. Every small victory in patience builds strength for larger challenges. Your task is to make patience not just a response to difficulty, but a way of engaging with life itself. Let every moment become an opportunity to practice. Every delay, a chance to strengthen your resolve. Every setback, an invitation to deepen your composure. This is how an emperor prepared himself to face empire's greatest challenges with unshakable patience. This is how you too can develop patience, not as a desperate response to difficulty, but as a natural expression of cultivated strength. Let your daily practice become your foundation for lasting patience. Now we come to the deepest teacher of patience, our own mortality. Every emperor, every soldier, every human being must face this ultimate truth. Our time is finite, yet in this very limitation lies a profound lesson about patience, purpose, and the true meaning of time. Consider how the awareness of mortality changes our relationship with time. When we truly understand that our days are numbered, we gain a different perspective on what deserves our impatience and what deserves our patient attention. The trivial frustrations that consume so much of our energy begin to fall away in the light of this greater truth. I learned this lesson, not just as a philosopher, but as a ruler who faced death daily, in battle, in plague, in the constant awareness that even an emperor's life is brief. Let me share with you how this understanding transformed my approach to patience and time itself. Imagine standing at the head of a legion, knowing that many of your soldiers, perhaps even you, will not see the next sunrise. In such moments, what deserves your impatience? What matters enough to disturb your calm? This is not a morbid thought, but a clarifying one that helps us distinguish between what truly matters and what only seems urgent. Let me teach you how to use mortality as a teacher of patience. Begin by accepting, truly accepting, that your time is limited. This is not cause for anxiety, but for clarity. When you know that each day is precious, you become more discerning about how you spend your mental and emotional energy. During my reign, I wrote often about death, not from fear, but from the understanding that embracing mortality brings wisdom. When you know that all things must end, you gain a different perspective on delays and setbacks. They become not interruptions of infinite time, but parts of your finite experience to be lived fully. Practice what I call mortality meditation. Each morning remind yourself, I am mortal. This day is a gift. How will I use it? This awareness helps you distinguish between genuine urgency and mere impatience. Many things that seem to demand immediate attention lose their power when viewed through the lens of mortality. I want you to understand, this is not about living with death's shadow over every moment. It is about using the awareness of mortality to develop deeper patience with life's unfolding. When you truly accept that all things must pass, you can, paradoxically, engage more fully with each moment, including the moments of waiting and delay. In my years upon the throne, I observed that those who fought against mortality's reality were often the most impatient, the most driven by artificial urgency. Those who accepted their finite nature often developed a deeper patience, a more genuine engagement with life's natural rhythms. Learn to recognize false urgency born of forgetting our mortality. When you find yourself growing impatient, ask, will this matter when I face my final hour? Am I using my finite time fighting against what cannot be changed? These questions often dissolve unnecessary impatience. Consider how the awareness of mortality affects your priorities. Some things require swift action, precisely because time is finite. Others require patient development despite or because of our limited time. Wisdom lies in knowing the difference. In managing the empire, I faced countless situations that seemed to demand immediate action. The awareness of mortality helped me distinguish between true emergencies and matters that would benefit from patient consideration. This same wisdom can serve you in managing your own life. Your task is not to achieve everything immediately. This is impossible even for an emperor. Your task is to engage wisely with the time you have, knowing it is finite, but not letting this knowledge rush you into impatient action or paralyze you with anxiety. Remember, mortality teaches us both the value of time and the wisdom of patience. Knowing that our days are numbered helps us use them more wisely, not by rushing through them, but by engaging with them more fully and discerningly. This is how an emperor learned to balance urgent action with patient wisdom in the face of mortality. This is how you too can develop patience that is informed by the awareness of life's finite nature, but not driven by anxiety about it. Let mortality be your teacher in developing genuine patience, not the patience of one who thinks they have forever, but the patience of one who knows each moment is precious and chooses to use it wisely. You have journeyed with me through the domains of patience, from the practical to the profound, from the immediate to the eternal. Now it is time to speak of the final truth. The greatest empire you will ever rule is your own mind, and patience is its crown jewel. Think back to where we began, the frustrations of daily life, the burning desire for immediate results, the struggle against time's natural flow. See how far you have come in understanding that true power lies not in controlling time, but in mastering your response to its passage. I ruled Rome, commanded legions, held power that stretched across continents. But my greatest conquest was not of territories or peoples. It was the mastery of my own reactions, the development of patience that no external event could shake. This is the sovereignty I would have you claim for yourself. Let me share with you the final synthesis of all we have explored. Patience is not a single virtue, but a crown made of many jewels. The emerald of strategic timing, the sapphire of calm endurance, the ruby of active acceptance, the diamond of mortal wisdom. Each facet catches life's light differently. Each strengthens your rule over yourself. During my reign, I came to understand that an emperor's true power lay not in commanding others, but in commanding himself. The same is true for you. Every moment you choose patience over impulse, measured response over reactive haste, you strengthen your sovereignty over your own mind. Practice what I call imperial patience, the patience of one who knows they need not rush because they are already where they need to be. Like an emperor on his throne, you can allow events to unfold in their proper time because you are secure in your own power to respond appropriately when the moment is right. I want you to understand this patience we have studied together is not a constraint but a form of freedom. It frees you from the tyranny of immediate impulse, from the slavery of reactive emotion, from the constant pressure to make everything happen now. This is the true crown of endurance, the power to choose your response to time itself. Consider how this understanding changes your relationship with life's challenges. Traffic is no longer an impediment, but a training ground for your imperial patience. Delays are no longer enemies but opportunities to demonstrate your mastery. Setbacks are no longer defeats but chances to show the strength of your resolve. In my final years as emperor, I came to see that every challenge to patience was actually an opportunity to demonstrate sovereignty over myself. Each moment of waiting became a chance to show that I ruled my reactions rather than letting them rule me. This same opportunity is available to you in every moment. Your task now is to maintain and strengthen what you have learned. Like any ruler, you must regularly survey your domain, in this case, your patterns of response to life's demands. Where does impatience still hold territory in your mind? Where has patience established strong rule? What areas need strengthening? Remember, the crown of endurance is not won once and held forever. It must be earned anew each day, in each situation that tests your patience. Every traffic jam, every delay, every setback is a chance to prove your sovereignty, to show that you rule your responses rather than being ruled by circumstances. This is the final wisdom I offer you. Patience is not a destination, but a continuous journey of mastery. Each day brings new tests, new opportunities to demonstrate the strength you have developed. Each challenge is a chance to show that you are indeed the ruler of your own reactions. Let every moment that tests your patience become a moment of conscious choice. Will you react as a slave to circumstance or respond as a sovereign over your own mind? Will you let external events command your emotions, or will you maintain the steady patience of one who knows their true power? This is how an emperor learned to rule himself more surely than he ruled Rome. This is how you too can develop patience that becomes not just a practice but a crown, a symbol and tool of your sovereignty over your own mind and reactions. The choice is yours now. You have the wisdom, the tools, the understanding. Will you claim your crown? Will you establish your rule over your own responses? Will you develop the patience that marks true sovereignty? Remember, you are the emperor of your own mind. Leta. Patience be your crown, wisdom your scepter, and measured response your throne. Rule well, rule wisely, and let no circumstance shake your hard-won sovereignty over yourself.